In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, to whom we all have to be. Honorable listeners and respectable audience, you know that we have started a series of linguistics. In linguistics, we have commenced the chapter that is known as translation studies. Listeners and audience, today I'm going to teach you various methods of translation studies. What are the various methods of translation? We have divided such methods into two. The first one, that is direct translation methods, and the second one is indirect translation methods. Listeners and audience, keep in mind that sometimes direct translation methods are important in some cases, while in other cases indirect translation methods are important. But what are those methods? How we can understand them? What are the examples for a better explanation? So be with me and listen to this lecture from beginning until end. Let's come to first of all direct translation methods. Why they are important? Direct translation methods are such methods which the translators, the expert and the professional, they use them in order to keep the original message, keep the same style, the same words in some condition, and even the same structure in some cases. So we are going to discuss them one by one. The first method and direct translation method is borrowing. What is meant by borrowing? Borrowing means whenever a translator, he does not translate the word of one language into another language, the word of the source language into the target language, but he actually takes the same meaning. So when he uses the same meaning, the same word of one language into another language, and he does not change it, but he actually borrows that is called borrowing. But the question arises, why he does not change that word into another language? It is because of two reasons. One reason is that maybe that word does not have other alternative good word. And secondly, the same word provides good meaning to the same language. For example, take the example of pizza. Pizza, that is the word of Latin language. But this pizza is used in many languages. Take the example of English. The same pizza is used in English. It has not been translated but borrowed. Okay. Then we have calque. Calque is also known as loan translation. Here calque means, remember that when we are talking about calque, it is actually refers to the translation of a phrase. The translation of a phrase, but here only the word is translated. The structure of the word does not change. The structure of the phrase does not change, but it is translated as it is. For example, take the example of aeroplane. Here the aeroplane word, the same meaning of aeroplane is translated in even the same structure. For example, aero. Aero means Hawaii in Urdu language, and plane means jihaz. So aeroplane means Hawaii jihaz. The same structure, the same meaning was given. However, it was translated. The structure was not given. The structure was not changed. Okay, so that is called, and there are so many other examples as well. Whenever we translate a phrase of one language into another language, but the structure of that phrase does not change, it remains as it is. Then we have word for word translation. Word for word translation, where the meaning, the message of one language is converted, that is transferred from one language into another, but it is done literally. It means the structure also does not change and even the literal meaning is taken. For example, here you see word for word translation. Like I have written a sentence he. For he, that is वह in Urdu, is hai, going, jana or ja raha hai, for example. So this is word for word translation. The same structure in English, the same structure would be in Urdu. Yes, the words are changed, but the structure are similar, or the structure is completely of English language structure. When we are talking about literal translation is very near to word for word translation. However, in literal translation, the meaning remains the same. The literal meaning is taken, the dictionary meaning is taken, but the structure is changed to provide understandable meaning. Okay, listeners and audience, I'm sure that now you know about methods that is related to direct translation methods. But let me provide another example for better understanding that why sometimes direct method is important. Direct methods are sometimes important because sometimes the translator wants to keep the preserved text protected. For example, and you might have seen the books of science, for example. So in sciences, so many words are written the same, little bit changes are there, even sometimes the structures are being kept the same. And another condition, when two languages have the same structure, then direct translation has been used. Let's come to indirect translation methods. What are indirect translation methods? Indirect translation methods are those methods in which the structure of one language into another language is changed. Meanings are the same, messages are the same, but the structures are changed. Why the structures are changed? Because as the first language seems natural, so an indirect translation or an oblique translation, this try or this struggle happens in order to make the target languages also natural like the first one. So that's why oblique translation methods take place. We are discussing them one by one. The first one, transposition. What is transposition and its example? Transposition is indirect method of translation. And transposition, what happens? Very strange thing happens in transposition. In transposition, sometimes the message, but all the time the message does not change, but even the nouns, the verbs, they change. But the message the same. For example, see, the teacher gave a beautiful explanation. When I say the teacher gave a beautiful explanation, so now let's see, उस्ताद ने बहुत खूबसूरत तरीके से वजाहत की. This is a natural flow. But here you see a beautiful that is adjective, but here बहुत खूबसूरत तरीके से. A bit exaggeration is also there. बहुत खूबसूरत तरीके से. From beautiful there is made a method. So method is actually a noun, but here beautiful is adjective. If you are talking about the complete word. Okay, so this is because of what? Transposition. In transposition, meaning remains the same. However, the verbs and sometimes the nouns change from one language into another. The structure of the nouns change. Sometimes nouns become verb or verb become nouns or adjective become even sometimes noun as I presented an example. Then we have modulation. Modulation means here in modulation means in the indirect method of translation, you see the meaning and the structure change, but the meaning does not change. Sometimes a sentence has one structure, but here it has another meaning, but it provides the same meaning with the first one. For example, it is not difficult. It is not difficult. Its translation, literal translation would be ये मुश्किल नहीं है, or its normal translation would be, even sense person translation would be ये मुश्किल नहीं है. But here in modulation it can also be ये तो आसान है. So when I say it is not difficult, I can also say it is easy. So that's why it is modulation. Here the structure is totally changed. Even the words are totally changed, but still it provides the same meaning. Then we have reformulation and or equivalence. Reformulation or equivalence means that it is this type of method is used for sayings, proverbs and idioms. It means whatever methods English language idioms, English language proverbs or English language sayings have, the same pattern would be applied to idiom, to Urdu idioms, to Urdu proverbs as well. For example, in English we have idiom might is right. Just say, for example, in English we have might is right. So here the literal meaning will not be taken because it is proverb. So same proverb will be made in Urdu language. For example, might is right. The meaning is जिसके लाठी उसकी भैंस. कानून ताकतवर कर सकते थे. A person who is powerful, the laws actually, the law is for him. Just an example. So here might is right in Urdu. If we made proverb as it is proverb in English language, so the proverbial sentence would be जिसके लाठी उसकी भैंस. So that is called reformulation, equivalence. It means whatever expression is expressed from this proverb, the same expression is expressed in Urdu proverb as well. Then we have adaptation. Adaptation means there are some cultural terms. If it is possible to translate, or if their translations are possible, definitely they are translated, but in a way which could express like the better translation. But it is translated according to the cultures, not by the same cultures. For example, if someone in America, for example, tell us, welcome, you are welcome, we will take the meaning in Pashto language that he means that Stadaimashe, or he means that Pakhair Rale. Or in Urdu, we will say that he means welcome, or in Arabic, he will say, for example, Marhaba, Ahlan wa Sahlan. So this is what adaptation. And the last one is sense for sense translation. In sense for sense translation, I already discussed in detail. Here, sense for sense translation means when the message, the meaning of one language is transferred to another language. The meaning of the source text is transferred to the target text. But here again, it is does not follow. It does not follow the structure, but it is actually the natural way of translation. For example, if we say he was overjoyed, he was overjoyed. So here he was overjoyed means if you are taking, for example, literal meaning, it means वो बहुत खुश हो गया. But here we are taking the natural meaning, it means उसका दिल भाग भाग हो गया. So I'm sure that now you know about translation studies. I'm sorry for today's lecture, although it was a bit lengthy, but I wanted to convey the entire message in one lecture because these are connected with each other and most of the topics I have already discussed. Thank you.